What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from Gobundance. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber, and today I had in a Gobundance member. I'm releasing this on Tuesday, even though he's a Gobundance member, because Anthony Tolliver has had a really interesting and significant career in so many ways, and there was so much wisdom in this interview that I feel like he's better featured here on our Tuesday episode. Anthony is a 14-year NBA veteran. He's played overseas in the early parts of his career and has carved out a hell of a career in the NBA. Ever since then. On top of that, he is an incredible entrepreneur, investing in multiple opportunities. He's got a lot of businesses that he's started, that he's exited, that he's a part of. And he just talks through his investing criteria, how he determines who and where he's going to invest in, or who and what he's going to invest in, and some incredible wisdom that he gleaned from his faith and a trip to France that he took when he was a high school athlete. We'll also talk about, even though how he was in the NBA and was a scholarship athlete in college, how he was never the best player on any team at any level that he's ever played on. Really interesting stuff. Anthony, I've met him at a couple of different events. He's an incredible human being. He's extremely driven, extremely disciplined, and there are so many nuggets of wisdom to extract from a guy who's performed at the very, very top end, the very, very height of one of the biggest pro sports in the world in NBA basketball. So enjoy this interview. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment. Let us know what you think about Anthony Tolliver. Anthony, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. So let's dive into your backstory. Let's start with basketball, because you told me once that you have never been the best player on any team that you've played on, even going back to, was it Kickapoo High School or whatever it was called? Going back all the way that far, you've never been the best player on a team. Explain that to me, please, since you've had a long and storied NBA career. How are you never the best player?
Pretty simple. Yeah, I mean, it's just, honestly, going back to high school, I've had the pleasure of playing with some really, really good players. So that always is good, right? Like when you're a competition that you play against every single day is pretty elite, that's gonna heighten your ability to get better as well. So me not being the best player on my team growing up and everything, it helped me. It helped me a lot. It helped me to prepare for the days that I'm in now, as far as being a role player and being on teams and knowing that I know I'm not the best player. They don't need me to be the best player. I just need to be the best in my particular position and fill my role the best way I know how to. So I think that's a huge reason why my transition into the NBA has been really, I've done really well with it and been able to fill a role really well, because it's something I've been doing pretty much since like middle school. So
let's go back to that. So talk about the role player, the middle school, like tell us a little bit more about you, where you're from and kind of your path to the NBA. And then we'll pivot a bit later to your entrepreneurship endeavors. So yeah, give us kind of the background on you.
So I am from Springfield, Missouri, smaller town, not super small, about 180,000 people. It went to Kickapoo High School, like you said. It had a few other Division I athletes on our high school basketball team, so we were pretty good.
Yeah.
I think we were my senior year. I think we finished 11th in the nation as far as the ranking goes. So really good high school team. Went from there, went on to go play at Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska, and played there for 4 years, got my finance degree.
Scholarship, walk on? How did you go to Creighton?
Scholarship, yeah, full ride. It's too expensive for me to have gone there. I've gone there without a scholarship, especially my mom being a teacher for 31 years. That definitely didn't have the coins to be able to send me to a school like Creighton. So was very fortunate to get a college scholarship to go to there and have a great education and meet some amazing, great people, including my wonderful, awesome, incredible wife, who also went to Creighton and graduated in 2007 with me. And then did not get drafted. So, a lot of people who get to have a 10 plus year career in the NBA, most of the time you're going to be, drafted, and, you have time, you get a second chance, third chance, and you might have that 10-year career. Whereas for me, I didn't get drafted. So every single year I was in the NBA was a reproving myself year, and which made me, a better player, made me a better person, made me everything. Just everything is my entire journey in it being kind of based around that has been a huge blessing to ultimately who I've become. So anyways, so that is kind of me in a nutshell from a basketball standpoint. And I started investing literally a few months after I started playing professional basketball, because I had to get a few checks in the bank account before I could invest. But pretty much the first thing I did was buy a single family home back in Springfield as an investment property. So it was I had to, I wanted to jump into the real estate game immediately, and that just kind of catapulted me into a lot of other stuff.
Makes sense. So real quick, as an aside, did any of the other guys you played with in high school that went D1, did they make it to the NBA, or are you the only one?
I am, to my knowledge, I'm the only guy to ever come out of Springfield, Missouri to play in the NBA.
Wow.
So we've had a few others play professional basketball, and there might be somebody back in like the 40s or 50s, right? For some reason, I think like there was a really, really famous high school team back in the 40s or 50s, like the Jolly Green Giants, that they're Parkview, which is a school that's 10 minutes from my high school, that for some reason I'm thinking that one of those guys might have made the NBA back in the 50s, something like that. But other than that, any modern day, I'm the only one that came out of Springfield.
We're not counting the 50s. We'll count modern day. I like it. So you're the only one that made it from this team. We'll touch on that in a moment. But your beginnings in the NBA or in professional basketball, you started, I think, D-League, Germany. You were in a few different places before you made it to the NBA. Can you just talk a little bit about that journey? Do you think that the fact that you had, well, first of all, talk about the journey, but I'm wondering if that sort of path there was what maybe made you immediately start thinking about, okay, I don't know when the next check's coming, so I got to invest my money. Like, was that the blessing of maybe starting at the D-League international level?
Yes, that's definitely one of the blessings of being, out of the league or not in the league, and getting a chance to taste what the league tasted like. Getting in there my rookie year, going through training camp with the Cavaliers. So I was teammates with LeBron James, for like a month. Getting a taste of what the NBA life was like, and then going to the D League, right? I was like, well, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do this for 10 years, but I'll sure do the other stuff for 10 years up in the NBA. So it just gave me a really, really good foundation of perspective, and say, all right, like I know what my goal is. I know where I need to be. I've experienced it now, and now I'm going to go fully after it. Whatever it takes to get back there, I'm going to do it. And so, but then playing in the D League as a D League, then now it's the G League. It gave me so much more appreciation for being in the NBA, whether that be for 1 minute or 1 year or 10 years. I never lost perspective on how blessed I was to be in the NBA because of my times in the D League, and then also playing overseas as well. Made a lot more money playing overseas than in the D League, but it was also overseas, right? You're away from your family. People can't get to you easily. You turn on the TV, they don't speak English, and which is, that's just a part of, being in another country, right? They're speaking German if you're in Germany, or they're speaking Turkish if you're in Turkey, because that's their language. But, me being from America, I'm like, all right, I need to get back to America. Right. So it's just definitely gave me so much more perspective, and it gave me more realization that, like, this is not going to last forever. So me investing is going to help me create, longer term foundational wealth for myself, my wife, and my kids at that time in the future. So
stay how do you stay so disciplined and hungry? And before we started recording, you were talking about, I jokingly said, not retired, but you're kind of in this place of like, I might take a contract. You're in that place, but you're staying in shape, right? That's the one thing you were doing before this. Like you have this routine you're sticking to maintain the readiness. If you do get the right contract and you jump into it, that's great. But then even now, like you're a 14-year NBA vet. Like you made it, right? The D League is way in the past. What's G League, by the way? What does that mean? What is a G?
It's G stands for Gatorade. So they paid for the naming rights of the D League.
Smart, those marketing geniuses. Yeah. But your G League or D League days are way behind you. Your international days are way behind you. I mean, you've made a nice career, 14-year NBA career. Not bad money, good lifestyle, all of that stuff. But man, you've only accelerated, it feels like, into I know you have, into the investment ranks, and your discipline remains. Like, how do you keep that when you're in this, kind of cushy spot, I guess you could say, of being a veteran NBA player at this point? How do you maintain this discipline, this drive, this workman-like sort of focus that you keep? Do you have routines, habits? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, all the above. I mean, routines, habits. I mean, it's just who I am, though, right? Like but it wasn't just who I woke up. I wasn't like this when I was 14, right? Like it was routines and habits that I put into place when I was 14 that are carrying over to my success in the NBA and then also my success in business. And it's just, creating self-discipline and putting yourself in a position to build self-discipline is maybe the biggest reward you can give yourself. Is one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself is keeping yourself accountable to the things you say you're going to do and do them. And you have goals. And okay, so having goals and actually achieving goals are two different things, right? Everybody can have goals, but if you don't put into place the practices to actually achieve those goals are just dreams. Like dreams mean nothing if you don't do anything to get to those dreams or to those goals. So, for me, it's just been about, okay, basketball has always been, for me, this is not for everybody, but for me, it's always been a very easy discipline because I love the game so much. It's been a really, really easy every day for the last 15 years, waking up and thinking, how do I get better today? I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to, maybe get a workout in, maybe a lift in, maybe go swim, but I'm going to get my work in, right? Because I have to get better. And it's just a matter of just every single day. Well, what's happened is, over the past year plus or so, I've really been focused so much more on my business. Still doing basketball stuff, of course, staying in shape, but I've been just applying those same disciplines and the same things over to business. And it's really helped, like you said, accelerate a lot of the things I have going on because of that work ethic just shifting over. So I wake up, my brain is, yeah, sure, I'll think about working out at some point, like at maybe an hour or two after I wake up, but my brain goes straight to efficiencies, straight to, all right, how can I get the business better today? How can I increase, efficiencies within everything that I'm doing on the business side? And, it might be, there's just a lot of different things. So in basketball, I think that everybody should do this. Is for me in basketball, my core motivation was outside of myself, right? It was to provide for my mom and then provide for my family. So I did lose my mom before I was able to really get into the NBA, which was unfortunate. So I just had to reassess and say, well, what is my motivation now? And it ended up, kind of shifting over to my sisters, my dad, and then also my family and friends. So I was like, okay, so I'm utilizing this basketball to create money/wealth to be able to help and put others in positions to succeed. And so that motivation kind of shifted from my mom to like a more broader, you know, group of people. And now with business, it's the same thing. Is how many different people that are in my circle can I help? Now, I'm not going to be their savior, right? But how many other people can I help put in a position to succeed? And that's how I wake up and I think about that daily, which gets me up out of bed, which gets me excited, which gets me working towards those goals. And so for me, it's not hard. It's really not hard at all to get going on those things.
Wow. Okay. The business side of it, you made a comment. It's an easy discipline because I love the game when it came to basketball. You've got these external motivating factors with, family that you're trying to like you said, not be their savior, family, friends, it was support or they're your motivation. But when you decide to invest or buy, like, bigblanket.com is one of the things that you've had, right? You've got a few different businesses. For some reason, a couple of them are escaping me right now. But what is it that you look for when you decide to invest? Or you have the tequila, the bourbon fund, those things we talked about, right? Like, what are the things that you look for when you decide to invest that give you that easy discipline that you like, that you love? Like, what is it that you love about investing, or what things do you fall in love with about an investment before you say, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to buy in, I'm going to partner, whatever it is you're going to do. What are the
Well,
criteria you're using, I guess? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I'm sure none of what I'm about to say is going to be mind blowing or so crazy unique.
We'll see.
But but the first thing is the people, right? It's the people who are involved, day to day people, the founders, if it's a startup or whatever, the CEO or the leaders of the company. It's all of those things, right? Like I want to make sure that people who are running it day to day, because I'm not, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not what I'm doing. My day to day is, I've worked my entire life so that I can create and have time with my family and do the things I want and need to do. So, for me, it's like, okay, it's about who are those people that are running this thing day to day? Who are those people who founded this company, and what are they about? Right? Are they Do they know everything? Nobody knows everything, right? Are they perfect? No. But are they surrounding themselves with the things that they're not great at? That's another piece, right? Like, are they surrounding themselves with great numbers people if they aren't great numbers people? Maybe they're great marketers, maybe they're great brand people, but if they don't surround themselves with great, ancillary pieces, then it's going to be hard for them to succeed. So I look at that. I look at, you know, I've invested in a lot of different things, like not just brands, also just regular, things. So kind of criteria shifts a little bit from, the people is across the board, doesn't matter. But if it's a brand, now you're talking, okay, like, does it what differentiates that brand from anybody else? Is it just another brand, or is it something about this that is unique, that has a chance to stand out? Because in today's world, you have to stand out in order to be really successful. Yeah, you can go sell sheets on the internet right now, and you could probably sell maybe a few $100,000 worth of sheets over the course of a year. I mean, if you just had some generic sheets that were just solid, but in order for you to be a multi-million dollar company, what's different, right? So those are the types of things that I look at, and pro formas and stuff like that. I mean,
They're all the
at this
same.
point, it's just I mean, just like almost don't even need to see the pro forma. It's like I get it. Like you do need to see it because
Sure.
you got to at least make sure that they're thinking the right way. If they're saying, "Hey, year one, we're going to make it $2 million. Year three or year two, we're going to make $100 million. In year three, we're going to make $1 billion." Then, all right, I don't need to do business with these people because they have no clue what they're doing. So you almost have to just have that as a litmus test. As, do you just generally know what you're doing from a number
Sure.
standpoint? But other than that, pro formas mean nothing because pro formas almost never match up with what actually happens. So yeah, I mean, and it's really, really like those are the couple things that I would say I look at the most. I mean,
Yeah.
everything else is just kind of like obviously getting to know the people who are running it. Like I said, the numbers, unless they have previous experience and they've been in business for a few years, there's not really a lot of numbers, to it. But different businesses require kind of different levels of due diligence, right? You're buying an existing business, an HVAC business, right? That's been around for 10 years. That criteria is going to be different than a startup. So, but I've invested in kind of the whole gambit. So it's just across the board though. But like I said, if I believe in the person or the people who are running it, there's a really good chance I'm going to take that, kind of investment due diligence to the next level off of just that, no matter if it's a startup or if it's a 10-year company with a lot of experience.
I love that, man. Profound. It's in the ear of the beholder, I guess, but I do get asked a lot, like when you look at deals, and I'm newer at this as, for me, like I was a W-2 guy, kind of comfortable, and then had my epiphany a few years ago, like probably a better way to live. So, I pivoted to entrepreneurship and investing, and I'm learning a ton. But the thing I've learned in that time is what you just said. A lot of people ask, like, what are the criteria you have? And they want to know, like, what percentage return should I be getting, or what multiple equity multiple should I be sourcing, or whatever. That's the question they're asking. And the answer, and people don't like really think of it often, is who is it? I could get a 7% return with somebody that's got their stuff locked down. They're investing in technology. They got a great team. Or I could get a 10% return with somebody who just doesn't seem like they have much of an organization behind them. I'll take the 7% return all day over the projected 10% return. And I love what you said about kind of the mindset of the individual. So are they surrounding themselves with people who know what they're doing? Because that's such a key. There's an ego component, right? Like if they're not, right, why? Is it an ego thing? So let me ask you this then. Have you lost money on anything you invested with at this point? And you don't have to get into the specific of I lost it on this, but have you? And if so, what lessons did you learn about yourself, your strategy, anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody's come onto your show and said that they haven't lost money, that means they haven't been investing. So the answer is yes, I have. And, the good thing is obviously is I would never invest or put our
What's going on, everybody? It's Jamie. I'm jumping in real quick here because some people are listening to this podcast thinking, man, I hear this guest, I hear what they're talking about. This whole Gobundance thing sounds pretty cool. I'd love to be a part of that. And I would say to you, if you are qualified to be part of Gobundance, you're a millionaire or accredited at the very least, jump onto Gobundance.com and just put your application in. You'll get on a call. It might even be with me, where we can talk about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and what it is to be part of this community in depth. Would love to have a conversation with you about that. It's been just so life-changing for me. And for those of you out there that are saying, yeah, sounds great, I would if I were a millionaire or if I were accredited, but I'm not there yet. We've got that now. We've built a program and I run it. I love being a part of it. I left my job for it, called Emerge and Ascend. Emerge is where you got to start. It's a 12-week intensive sprint goal setting course. You're going to get curriculum every week. You're going to get live intervention every week. You're going to get connection with Gobundance members every week. You're going to get accountability from like-minded people every week. Jump into that, kill it, and we invite you to Ascend, which is essentially the Gobundance Mastermind without the $1 million requirement. And we actually even add in coaching to help folks find their purpose, their mission, their values. It's intense. It's everything all wrapped in one. So again, if you're a millionaire or you're at least accredited and you're wondering about this Gobundance thing and that shouldn't I, just apply. Throw your name in. You lose nothing. All you do is put your name into an application form, you get on a phone call, and then you decide. If you're not yet at that $1 million mark, look at Emerge, Gobundance.com/emerge. And what you can do as well is drop my name in there, Jamie, Jamie, and we'll knock $200 off the tuition for Emerge. Jump in there and we'll get you started on your journey toward being a whole life millionaire, toward getting to Gobundance, whatever you want. People in Emerge, people in Ascend, people in Gobundance all report back often the changes it's made in their lives financially, relationally, and everywhere else. So go to Gobundance.com, check all of that out. See wherever you are, dive into that particular area of Gobundance, and we'd love to see you inside of the tribe. And now, back to our show.
Our financial well-being in harm's way, right? Like, so sure. Anything I've ever done, even the largest investments I've ever done, if they went to zero, it would hurt. it would not feel good, but our life would not change at all, like not even a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely lost money. The biggest lessons I've learned from those, one of those was early, and that one, the biggest thing I learned from that one was just absolutely drilling in on the people, right? I knew I knew one of the guys really well, but I didn't know the main guy very well. And so I kind of took it as, well, I know him, so he's working with this guy, so we should be good. And I didn't do enough due diligence on the person who was actually behind it. And, he didn't do anything wrong. He just did everything wrong. That makes sense?
Nothing
Like,
illegal, nothing
yeah,
underhanded, nothing
right.
immoral,
Like
but
he just
fumbled.
wasn't competent on the actual situation, which I don't even blame him for that. Like, to tell you the complete truth, like, he went for it and he thought he was ready and he wasn't. I'm the one who invested. I didn't have to invest. He didn't force me to invest. He just asked me, or they just asked me, and I said yes. So I definitely learned, hey, you not only is it, oh, let's have a conversation once and then all of a sudden I'll invest, but it's, hey, like, get to know the people and then do some research on the people and their background and their core competency, and but other than that, I mean, everything behind what that whole investment was about was phenomenal. I mean, it was all about, like, kids and just health and everything else. Like, so everything that, like, I love to be about, it was great. It just that just wasn't the right people running it. And like I said, it's just not his fault. It's my fault. I take full responsibility for that. So but yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest things I learned from that. And then, another one where I lost money, it's kind of the same thing, where it's the people. Right. And so try to give a young kid that I knew, okay, I didn't know him very well, but I knew him okay, try to give him a chance to do something pretty significant, and just wasn't able to get it done because he wasn't ready, he wasn't prepared, uh, he wasn't competent for that job quite yet. And once again, that's on me for not identifying that before cutting these checks and allowing that to also lose money for me. So at the end of the day, like I said, that's the main thing. Like you
Yeah.
talked about earlier, you said a great operator, great person, great this and that, giving you 7% return, or somebody you're questionable giving you 10 or 12. I'm taking the 7 all day because it's the people, right? And so same thing here. It's like, even though this business sounds really attractive, I'm not going to say, oh, well, yeah, I'm not sure if this guy's the right guy for it, but this business looks great. Like, I'm not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's questionable, if the person's questionable to be able to get the job done, then it's probably a reason. So there's probably a reason why I'm questioning that person.
Right. Right.
Right. So I'm going
Yeah.
to listen to that. I'm going to say, I love this business. It's a great business, but not the right timing for me, or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Like, just to make sure that, but that's just how I have to approach things like that.
Did you know that, looking back on those two? Like you said, I knew the guy, not the main operator, on the one, and the other guy was a younger kid you were given a chance. Like, if you think back, was there any part of you that was maybe a little bit like, talked yourself into it? Like, was there an intuition that you can think back to say, I probably, I got to be talked into this one, versus some of the other ones where you're just kind of full body yes? Do you recall that, or maybe not? It's just like, hey, I invested, I was really confident in it, and I learned from it, and now I'm smarter.
Yeah. And I think that, I'm not sure if looking back or thinking back, these were both quite a while ago. I'm not quite sure I was like, oh yeah, this is going to work. I think I was talking myself into it
Yeah.
almost more than I was, uh, convinced that it was going to actually work. And so, if I, it was a while ago. I don't know exactly where my mind was, but I'm pretty sure I was more thinking, you know, it it can be figured out, given some time, given some, whatever. And so I was almost like making an excuse or making
Justifying.
it,
Yeah.
justifying it, saying, oh yeah, see, like that, he's young, but he can figure it out or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he's a hard worker. So it's like, well, that's not enough. Just being a hard worker is not enough to run a successful business. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more intuition, a lot more uh, working smarter than harder to be successful in business. So yeah, I definitely learned a lot in those. And then, like I said, both of those things are very much geared towards just the people.
It's funny. I've been working so hard for me on on hearing that authentic voice on anything that I do, right? Whether it's time I'm going to commit, money I'm going to commit, whatever, especially as I'm navigating this new entrepreneurial world for me. And it's like, do your kids play Minecraft?
My oldest son does. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know how they lay down the blocks real quick, like, one after the other. It's like that first block is often like the thing that, it's your intuition. But before you know it, the second, third, fourth block, like you layer on behind it with all these justifications and thoughts or whatever. But like that first block is hard to hear. It's hard to hear that initial voice, that authentic voice. And then even harder is that pause, that kind of Viktor Frankl pause of, is this fear or is this intuition? Like, what is this? Am I just afraid but man, before you know it, your voice is justifying everything beyond that. And it's hard, like you said, to go back and think like, man, I guess so. I think there's probably an initial feeling of like, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I quickly talked myself past it. So I don't know. I think that's brilliant.
Our brains are pretty incredible to be able to, like, yeah, we can justify or convince ourselves of just about anything,
No
right?
doubt.
And which is scary a little bit, because it makes you realize, if you are not aware of, if you don't have self-awareness, then you're going to convince yourself that a lot of things that are good you're going to convince yourself a lot of things are good for you that are absolutely not, right? And one of the stories I remember hearing, I mean, probably over a decade ago, was about this lady, and it was basically just speaking to the power of the mind. And this lady literally was convinced that she was pregnant, right? I don't know what convinced her, but she was like, I'm pregnant. All right, cool. So her belly starts growing, and she gets morning sickness, and she gets this, and all these different, like, all the things that pregnant women get. Her body started going through the motions, and she ends up going to the doctor, I don't know, a couple months later or whatever, and the doctor's like, you're not pregnant, and you never were pregnant. Like, you didn't lose the baby, like, nothing. Like, I don't know what the heck just happened, but she was convinced that she was pregnant, and her body literally changed in and had all the symptoms of being pregnant. So when I heard that story, and I was like, okay, is this some trick or whatever? And to tell you the truth, I never went and called the lady and was like, hey, is this true? Right. But it seemed like it was a pretty reputable source. So I'm pretty sure it was a true story. And it's always stuck with me, right? For, ever since I heard it, because it just makes me realize how powerful this can be. It literally can create real life change, like physical change, by just thinking something. And
Crazy.
so it just made me realize how powerful this is. So now apply that to business, or apply that to basketball or anything else. You say, well, if I don't have this thinking in the right direction, it's going to work against me, right? And if a lady can convince herself that she's pregnant, why can't I convince myself that I'm a better basketball player than I am, or a better businessman than I am? Like, hey, like this right here, it starts right here. And if you don't think that you're capable of being a CEO or being a entrepreneur, you're not. Like, if you don't think that you're capable of doing it, you're just absolutely not. So you shouldn't even try. Like, because it's not going to work. If you're not saying here, right here, that I can be, and I can, not only can I be an entrepreneur, I can be an ultra successful, worth 8 figures entrepreneur. If you don't have that mindset and you can't think like that, then I would suggest you to just stay at your job, because it's not going to work out if you don't have it here first.
Wow, man. That's powerful. And now I'm just thinking, like, should I convince myself I could be in the NBA? You've met me. I got the
Now
physical frame for it.
the mind only has it's only certain things the mind can do, right? Like it only goes so far.
Come on, man. I thought you were going to give me like, hey, look, there was Spud Webb, there was Muggsy Bogues. Like, yeah, littler guys have
No,
done it, but you've seen me.
no,
Yeah.
sorry, Johnny.
Damn. All
No,
right. Well, let's
certain things, man. There's certain things. It's not going to happen.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you for that. I want to pivot on a couple of things. So let's talk about faith for a moment, because I know this plays a large role in your life. How does faith inform you in business and life generally? Can you give me a sense of, where did your faith come from? Is that something your mom gave you? Like you're very rooted in that, from what I can tell. Where's that
Yeah.
from, and how does that inform you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So, I mean, I always say that, we didn't grow up in a, your prototypical Christian home, going to church every Sunday and maybe every Wednesday for Bible study or whatever it may be. Like that wasn't our home. But we grew up in a home of knowing what our source was, right? And I would say a God-fearing home. And my mom, being a single mother and a teacher, the weekends, when we talk about waking up early to go to church, that was the last thing she wanted to do because she woke up early all week trying to, deal with these kids. And so we would go to church some, not a lot, but so it was always, a part of my growing up. But when I turned 12 is whenever I came to faith and actually know Jesus for myself. And so that's kind of whenever things shifted for myself. And, and of course it wasn't just night and day, like next day, all of a sudden I was some perfect person or kid or whatever. It's like still a process, a roller coaster, right? Like it's still life, a lot of ups and downs, great things and bad things have happened and horrible choices over the years, of course, even after, but through God's grace, I've had a very, very good, very, very great life, and just continue to have such a great life. And so, as far as my faith goes and how that has impacted my basketball and business and everything else is, I always look back to I think it was my going from sophomore year to junior year, I went over to France with a group called Athletes in Action. And we had a great group of guys, including my best friend, Dane Watts, who played with me at Creighton, and then a bunch of other guys from a bunch of other schools around the country. Long story short, we played some high-level French teams, Division I and Division II, I think, from over there. And our theme for that week or week and a half, however long we were there, was audience of one. And I didn't know what that really meant going into the week, but by the end of that week, it became pretty much my life motto, which is really changing my perspective of basketball, but really changing my perspective of life. If you do things trying to please or serve, the audience, say if you're in basketball, you got 20,000 fans in the stands, and you're trying to please them and be perfect for them and not make mistakes and, impress them. Yeah, you could possibly do that. It's probably going to happen some, sure. But if you do that, there's going to be a ton of inconsistencies, right? Fans are super inconsistent. One day they're your best friend, and then the next day they hate you, right? Like perfect example, just recently, good buddy of mine, John Morant, he just came back from injury. He was out for, I don't even know how long, but he was out for a while, and the team played really well. And so they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder by our NBA record, 73 points without John Morant, right? So unbelievable, right? Like just an unbelievable game, right? Perfect storm of all good things. Well, he comes back. First team they play against when he came back was Oklahoma City Thunder, and they lose.
Oh boy.
To that same team. And so there was fans who earlier in the season were chanting MVP for John Morant, right? Because hey, he was playing unbelievable before he got hurt. And those same fans are now saying, hey, Ja, go sit back down. Like, you need to, like, we're losing. You're back, but we're losing, you know? So, for me, that's a perfect example of why when you play for the audience, it's going to be inconsistent. It's going to be ups and downs. They're going to let you down, right? Yeah. But if you play for an audience of one, which is literally just focusing on playing to glorify God. Now, what does that mean, right? Some people say, well, how do you even do that? Like, what? God doesn't care about stats, right? He cares about you using every single bit of your effort and every single bit of your ability to glorify. In the Bible, it talks about doing things as if you're doing it for Christ, right? So why wouldn't that apply to anything that you do in sports or in business or whatever? So if you're a janitor, you better come every day, have a good attitude, and do your job and do it at the best of your ability and beyond what other people think, because you represent not only yourself, but you represent Christ, right? Yeah. As a believer. And so the same thing with basketball. So as soon as I started focusing on audience of one, I'm not worried about stats. I'm not worried about people. I'm not worried about fans, the people, the media. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. All I did was all I'm going to focus on is playing as hard as I can, doing what I can, maximizing what God has blessed me with. And at the end of this game, if I do that, I'm satisfied, and it doesn't matter what other people think. And literally from that moment, from that summer till now, has been the last 16 years of my basketball career, which has been the 2 years in college where I played the best, and then 14 years playing professional basketball. Wow. So, I mean, the mindset shift, it literally changed everything. It changed everything in my life. It changed everything in my basketball career. And, I suspect it's going to do the same in business where, I'm, audience of one for sure still applies to business, but I'm also not focusing on just myself, my stats. Like, so instead of my stats, I'm not really focused on my wealth at all. Like, I'm actually focused on others. I'm focused on my family and friends, and how I can help them be more successful. And just doing that has really, same thing. It's really just shifted, my abilities to be even more effective.
Wow, man. And look, I want to be respectful of your time. I want to ask a follow-up and then we'll close. I want to talk about the book here for a second, but the audience of one, that is amazing, by the way. That was incredible. That's a sound bite that I'll play back for me. And that's no BS. That was awesome. Is that the difference, or is it something else? You're a 14-year NBA veteran, undrafted. There are plenty of guys drafted, high first round, mid first round, second round, whatever it might be, that flame out 2-3 years in, and some injury. I get it, but is that sort of thinking the difference that you've seen in guys with staying power in the elite of the elite, the NBA, versus the guys that maybe flame out? Is that the difference? Is it something different? Like, what is the secret, or the I don't know if it's a secret, or the special cocktail that allowed you 14 years that you've seen other guys, maybe this is what they're not doing? It's this thing. Is it that? Is it audience of one? Something else? Kind of curious your perspective.
Yeah, for me, yes. I would say that, I mean, my faith and the foundation of my faith, the indestructible self-confidence that I have through knowing that God's plans will supersede any other human's plans. Meaning, if it is meant for me, doesn't matter who is against it as an individual, they are not going to succeed in keeping me from what's mine, right? And vice versa. Also, on the other end, if it doesn't come my way, then it's not meant for me anyway. So I'm not going to dwell on it. There's no need to, because that's not what God had for me. So when you talk about some of these big contracts, different things like that over the course of my career, I've seen a lot of guys get paid a whole lot of money, and I've got paid decent too, right? So it's not like I'm complaining at all, but I've never been the guy that says, man, I'm better than him. How did he get 50 million or 100 million? And I didn't. that thought might cross my brain for one split second. And then I realize that's not for me. That's his blessing. That's not mine. Right. And in some cases, it might end up being a curse, right? Because sometimes that money, too much money given to the wrong person at the wrong time, could actually be a curse instead of a blessing. So I never look at another man's pockets and say, oh man, that should have been me, or that could have been me. Why wasn't it me? And now I'm questioning God's plan, right? So I never, ever, ever do that. So I mean, that's for me, that's the secret sauce, right? Like that is the secret sauce, is the audience of one, never putting myself above others, and making sure that I focus on others, for, and that's what has made me, the teammate that I've been, right? Like it's, in order to do the job that I have done in the NBA, you have to be selfless, not selfish, right? You have to. Otherwise, you're going to be toxic and you're going to be a bad teammate. Because I was literally talking about this yesterday. The hardest job to me in the NBA is from being, if you're player 8 to player 11, right? 1 through 7, you're going to play, and you're going to play a lot. You pretty much know you're going to play every single night. You probably know exactly when you're going in, almost exactly, like all those. 1 through 7 is, not to say it's easy, it's still a hard job.
Yep.
8 to 11, sorry, not to the other part. 11 to 15, you're probably not going to play. Almost certainly you're not going to play. So you can you can get your butt kicked before game. You can run, you can lift, you can do all this different stuff. And then you can just relax, have some food, and just go sit on the bench and cheer your team on, because you're not playing, right? But 8 to 11, you have to be ready to play 2 minutes, 0 minutes, or 25 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard to prepare, and mentally and physically, for 25 minutes every single night and only get 2 or 0, right? If you're prepare, and you're getting 0, 0, 0, 0, that takes a whole lot of this. It takes a whole lot of mental, stability to be able to do that at a high level. And so that's what separates, to me. Now, in order for me to keep that mental stability, mine is me leaning on my faith, right? Other people, I can't speak to exactly how they were able to do it, but in order to do that long term, stick in the league long term, you have to have a whole lot of mental stability that allows you to stick through those moments that are just absolutely brutal. Like it's mentally, like, taxing.
So many parallels to life in there, just whether you're in a job or in an entrepreneurial endeavor, building a business. Like, you might be in that 11 to 15 right now where you got to prepare, but likely nothing's going to happen for a bit. But maybe you move up to the 8 to 11 where great week and then nothing for 3 weeks. Your business explodes for a week and then nothing, right? Until you can get yourself into that top 7 where you've got consistency but it takes you got to be prepared the entire time. I think that's brilliant, man. I could go another hour, even though you destroyed my NBA dreams. I can go another hour with questions. I mean, we can go back to 12 years old. What happened? Whatever. But I want to talk about this book for a second here. So, Foundation for Financial Excellence. Tell me about the motivation behind this and where people can find it.
Yeah, find it on Amazon, Amazon.com. It's been the number one seller in a couple different categories multiple times. So it's been a great book for a lot of people. And we really targeted college athletes, but all the things in there are really not just for college athletes. Like a lot of the examples and stories and stuff were kind of more geared towards college athletes, but the foundational principles in there are for anybody, right? I'm talking from 10 years old all the way up to 65 years old. It doesn't really matter. So I would say, anybody who has, whoever doesn't feel like they have a real good handle on the foundational things you need to really understand finances and really understand financial literacy and success, then I would say this book is for you. So, and I always give credit where credit's due. Ryan is Schochner. He is the author. He wrote the entire book, and I am just a contributor, right? So there is each chapter, at the end of each chapter, there's a section called Tolliver Takes. And so after each chapter, I kind of give my 2 cents on that particular subject, whether it be credit or whether it be something else, taxes or whatever. I just give my 2 cents on, what I believe, kind of how I approach it. And, if there's any other nuggets, I try to throw in there as well. But Ryan's the man behind the book, and then I'm just a sidekick.
Got it. Well, either way, I did have a chance to read through a good chunk of it, and you're right. This is relevant for not just a college athlete, like you said. It's kind of geared toward, but it's a really good, foundation. That's the name of the title, right? Foundation for Financial Excellence. So, Anthony, where can people look you up, follow you? Where do you want to direct folks so they can learn more about what you're doing day to day?
LinkedIn is good for business stuff. Going to be a lot more active on that in 2022. Sure. But Instagram's kind of my main social that I use is at atolliver44. And, there's a whole lot new websites coming soon. So that's going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be a lot more robust than anything I've ever put out before. It's actually going to really highlight a lot of the great things that I'm doing and being a part of, and just kind of bring more people into my world. I've been an open book, but I've been kind of private on everything else, right? Like on business stuff, I've let people know I'm in business, but I don't really let people know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. But now I'm just kind of letting people into my world and letting them know, hey, like this is all what I'm doing, and would love to, continue to have the support that I've received so far. So
building that brand, man. I love it. And again, it's been a privilege getting to know you. Will you be in Park City? You able to make that or no?
I won't be able to make Park City, but hoping to make another event or two this year for Gobundance. That'd be a lot of fun, man. The last 2 events I've been to have been amazing.
Yeah, no, again, hope to see you there. Again, we got to get those twin pics. The similarity, man. It's ridiculous.
Me and my daughter, I'm sure my daughter would probably get us confused if you put them next to each other.
Right. My son as well. Yeah. Never mind, I'm up to your nipple. That's about the height I've got. So I appreciate you being on, man. Thanks for the time today. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Anthony Tolliver here, hanging out at the Tribe of Millionaires podcast by Gobundance.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know down in the comments, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be informed on the next episode and other content right here on this channel. Thank you.